Good morning. This is News Director Reid Seals for WGRV. I'm here with Greene County Mayor David Crum, who is nice enough to join us every month to talk about what's going on here in Greene County. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Reid. Good morning, Greene County.
First question I have are, what are the benefits of the Improve Act, and in your opinion, could it harm those with a low income?
Well, there was a lot of discussion about that last night, and, having glanced over it, the problem we've got is just the need to fund the facilities and infrastructure that we've got in Tennessee. And I'm going to let the state come up with what they think is the best plan. And I guess that's what the commission kind of ultimately ended up deciding last night by pulling this, that David Hawk, our representative, is down there working to try to come up with a plan that will be more fair across the board than what some people think the improved plan that was presented by the governor could be. But ultimately it takes a lot of money to pave roads, and we've got a lot of infrastructure out there that's going to have to be addressed. And roads don't get built overnight. We've been talking about some of these expansions for well over 20 years, and as areas grow and to facilitate traveling and movement between areas, we really have to look at what's the long term for it. But my interest is, how's it going to help us locally? I get calls every week, and I know David Weems probably gets them daily down at the highway department about people wanting their roads worked on and things. And the last bonds and things issued, a lot of those roads from years ago are starting to really need some work, and it's just really expensive. The asphalt plant helps us in that. We're operating that much more efficiently and being able to produce more asphalt for the money. So that's been a positive thing with David's guys. It's much more efficient in a lot of ways. They make it and haul it then. They don't have to wait in line. So when they're planning a road building project, they know the specifications they need, and they're making the asphalt to that and can go ahead and plan for their day instead of maybe getting tied up as other people are in line to get asphalt.
And just to make it clear to everyone, the Improve Act, it will increase the gas tax 7 cents and the diesel tax 12 cents, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Second question is, can you explain why we need an additional judge in Greene County?
Judge Bailey has made this request numerous times to the commission and to the budget committee, and it was time for the full commission to take that look. He advocates it that he does not have the proper time to allocate, especially in the juvenile side, to deal as you just look in the paper and listen on the radio that the caseload continues to increase. And especially in custody issues, more and more family issues that are arising, children being removed, children being placement, children coming through juvenile justice side of it, that he just believes that we're failing to be able to adequately work, especially the juvenile court side, to be able to devote the time to that. Programs like the recovery court and some of those that a judge may be able to work additional times on that to try to maybe work on some of these violation of probations and stuff.
Well, I know at the commission meeting they approved sending a private act, right, to the Tennessee legislature. So what's the next steps in that process? Okay,
it's multiple fold. It's not even close yet to being funded and a judge coming into play. But those steps, to answer your question, is apparently we had to make a request to add a second sessions judge. So that passed to send that to the state for the legislatures would enact a private act, and private acts at the legislature mean that it only pertains to Greene County unless it's something that may be multiple. But in this case, it only applies to Greene County. If they approve that, and I would expect they would, because we're just asking them to basically rubber stamp that we can do that, then it would come back to the county commission, and a determination then would be, does the commission agree with Judge Bailey and his advocacy for this to add a second judge? And then it would have to be found a way to fund it. He's indicating there's a juvenile referee, so there's some money that could be utilized. He's indicated increasing the litigation tax, but ultimately there would have to become a funding source to fund that second judge, and I don't know what other additional personnel would come from him. This judge need an assistant? Would there be additional needs for court security and stuff? So they'd have to look at it in greater detail at that time.
Can you tell us how Animal Control was able to pay off their truck?
Yeah, a little over a year ago, I think it was May, we passed a resolution that increased by $1 the fee for vaccination on dogs and cats. And that dollar goes into a special capital projects fund that is held for Animal Control to use for capital projects. Their immediate need at that time was a truck. It was just shot. And so they bought a new truck. I want to thank the sheriff at this point in time. He gets various vehicles through military surplus and things, and he's actually allowing us to use one of those vehicles as long as we need it to help build that fund continuous. So the one of the vehicles they're using is from that. And so the next goal would be to try to build up, and Chris would like to put a fence around Animal Control, and that's a safety issue for him. He said, whatever animals they get, as they could be aggressive, and there's 2 schools nearby, that if he had it fenced around there to help protect in case one gets loose. And so that's the next goal, was to try to fence. So that I think was just a great thing. Dog and cat people are who's paying for it, and it doesn't bother me at all to put that extra dollar whenever I vaccinate mine, because I know exactly where that dollar is going, and in this case it went to pay for a truck, and in the future it'll go to pay for fencing, and that fencing, I would agree, is needed down there.
How is the shooting range progressing?
It's moving along. They've got, I think they poured concrete this week in the administration building, and so Parks and Rec guys are going to be starting to work down there. They're doing some work on that. A lot of it's depending on the weather as far as getting that final dirt and stuff moved around, and grass. I went to the upper range last week and this week. I was down there looking, and we've got some good grass on the upper range. The middle of the older range, basically just whenever we get things finished, I'll have some modifications for the firearms classes, that some requirements the state's put in to update that. So unless we run into a glitch I can't foresee, we should be on track for that. And I'm actually going to go down and drive to Carroll County and come back. I've got a meeting in Nashville, and so I'm going to Carroll County and kind of look to see how they administer their program. By this grant, it says it has to be open to the public a minimum of 20 hours. I know people are anxious from what I'm hearing. A lot of people in Greene County like to shoot and want to have a safe place that they go and can. So I really would like to see what is going to be the need for this. How can we set it up? It should self-fund, I believe, because Carroll County is like $28,000, and they cover their costs. So if you look at our population and the usage for it, with handgun carry permits and people that would be using it, we would charge a fee for the utilization. I can't see why we can't make that a self-sufficient operation down there.
How are the courthouse repairs going?
Kind of stalled in a little bit. They're waiting on the roof. Roofers, from what I understand, are on a different project. I think the brick part is pretty close to being finished, but the roofers have to get on there and get some stuff done. So we've been trying to rattle their cage a little bit in these last few days to get finished up with the project they're on and get over to us.
Can you explain the solid waste transfer station joint venture, just to clear things up?
Well, I wish Brad Peters was here, and somebody that really was more fit. The transfer station out there is a joint venture. We have a lot of joint ventures with the city and with us, and a lot of times those joint venture agreements are old and kind of obsolete due to some changes. And I think Brad kind of mentioned probably when this joint venture was done, they actually put garbage out there. and actually had many more employees. Right now there's one, and because of the work Brad does supervising that, he's kind of classified as part-time in that budget. But as you know, we haul all of our garbage down to Hamlin County to that disposal area. So we looked at this, and that was one of the write-ups in the when the auditor did it, that the joint agreement was kind of old and obsolete. So we were trying to take some action to get that cleaned up, and the wording as to the responsibilities and liabilities that we have for the landfill. And we had looked over it from the county side and sent it, but I guess it didn't get to their attorney, so they had some minor wording that they wanted to change. So, but the landfill is a joint venture agreement, and in this case, the city's the physical agent. Like EMS is a joint, but the county's the physical agent. So there was some wording in there that was old that we didn't like, and they took out without any issue at all with taking it out whenever we had our discussion. So I didn't get a chance to read their final version that came over, but this is just kind of clearing up some of those old agreements that we look at.
Okay. Well, we're just going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more on AM 1340 WGRV with the interview with Greene County Mayor David Crum. Welcome back. This is Reid Seals, News Director here at AM 1340 WGRV. I'm here with Greene County Mayor David Crum, and we're talking in our monthly interview and continuing this conversation. And our next question, Mayor, is any new updates on the Morgan Road development?
Yeah, no.
No.
I mean, just to be kind of short on that one, I've not had any contact. A lot of that conversation goes with the city since it's going there, into Todd Smith and the IDB. The IDB did meet like the officers, and that's kind of a rotation between the mayor of the town of Greeneville and myself as county mayor. Kind of rotates each year. But I've not had any conversations with Todd as to how that's progressing there.
Because I know everybody wants to hear what's going in there. Tell me a little bit about this 3-star award that Greene County received.
We did. We got that back years ago, prior to my taking office and kind of in that transition. I think it was almost kind of one of those feel-good awards that you fill out the paperwork and send it to the state, and you got this little sign that you put, that Greene County's a 3-star community. And that really made a transition to economic development. And we have to do some things to show that we are being fiscally responsible. As last night we talked about made sure the commissioners had a copy of the debt policy so that that's on file and out there. Some of the other, we have some internal control requirements, so they were made aware of that. I think they know that, but those are all the offices and funds have to be there, and those have been compiled. But now it really helps us, and I'll use the example like in community development block grants, and right now Glen Hills Utility District has one ongoing, and it may be finishing out and the other one starting up. But where they have to put in a matching portion for a grant to put in additional water lines, it allows them to put in a lower rate for the matching grant. So it really saves some significant money in our community it takes some work. Our partnership does that. They compile all the information, but in the past, they come to me. I have to provide some financial information that the county's doing and some things that's going on, and I know they talked to the sheriff last year. So that is one of those things that's really beneficial, that we take the time, and the partnership, as I say, coordinates that and does that, and it helps us in some grant processes.
Okay. What are some events coming up in the next month? I know in March we have St. Patrick's Day. That's the only holiday I can really think of, coming up.
Well, I know I always say look at your all's website. You tend to have all the meetings and events and things coming up. I guess we're right in the midst of basketball playoff season. Looking on down the road, I guess in April, the Old Oak Festival will be taking place out at Tusculum. And the baseball tournament, I haven't talked to Tammy Kinser at Tourism, but that's sometime in May, I guess, that the Junior College Championships will be out there, and we know our Greene County likes our baseball, so hopefully we'll have some good support and see some good games out there. So that's kind of some of the things that's coming up. I also look at the Greenville Sun, typically has events that are coming up. One thing we didn't kind of get that I do want to take, I don't do a lot of proclamations, but I did a couple one after the fact. But last night we took the time to honor the volunteer firefighters that went over to Sevier County. So if you don't mind, I'll kind of pull that because the question was asked, do we know how many people went over and what did? During that time, whenever they made the call for assistance, there was 45 volunteer firefighters from Greene County. I did not call the city. I think they sent some people along with others, but that was 45 from the various volunteer fire departments went over. They provided 814 man hours and 314 equipment hours, assisting utilizing tankers and brush trucks. And I want to thank them during that time whenever they made that call for assistance, and they let me know. That's one of those things, as I mentioned last night, you have that concern because fighting fires in woods is a whole different than fighting those house fires. I don't want to do either one, but I do want to acknowledge all the people that take their times to volunteer in that. I want to thank our Boy Scout Troop 92 came and led our pledge to the flag, and I appreciate the Boy Scouts are kind of doing that. They get a one of their badges that they can get's coming to a meeting, so it's allowing them to come and participate and to see how the commission operates. And we're open. Those meetings are open, so I'd encourage and invite anyone that wants to come and view the commission meeting. It's typically the third Monday night of the month at 6 o'clock upstairs at the courthouse.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor. I know one event coming up, the legislative breakfast.
Yes.
You want to talk about that a little bit? You know much about that?
Let's see. We can look at our calendar. I've sent my reservations in.
I'll be there too.
My money to go. So that's where we have an opportunity to meet with our various legislatures. Be Steve Sutherland.
It's early next month.
March 24th. I was pulling up here at the General Morgan. I've got 7 o'clock. That seems early, but we can check. It'll be on your website or the partnership,
there, yep.
Either one, to get a look at that. And so give a chance to meet and talk to them, and then give some updates. Things will be going on, and it's a good trip down and back, but I'll be making a couple down to Nashville to meet with legislators and stuff down there and the other county mayors about events and the things and that may be coming up affecting Greene County and the counties in general.
Well, I want to thank Greene County Mayor David Crum for joining us here today on WGRV. This is News Director Reid Seals. Thank you for listening.